Okay, guys, I believe it's about time. So, hello everyone, and well, thank you very much for joining us today for this new episode, new webinar from Mydro. And the idea, as you probably know by now, well, we'll focus on the marketing side of things, and more particularly on how to build a 360-degree view of your marketing campaigns. In a nutshell, the idea of today is, well, to discuss kind of the importance of data-driven marketing and how essentially it can help you better understand your customer in increasingly competitive global markets. And to address this topic, so we have with us Vincenzo from NIME, who will let himself introduce himself.
Hi, Julian. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Vincenzo Tursi. Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar. I'm partner manager here at NIME, and therefore I'm taking care of the relationships of our partners based here in the EMEA region.
Thank you, Vincenzo. And we also have today Cordelia, which is one of our experts at Mydro, and who will kind of do the demo today, and myself, Julian, who is in charge of the UK operations. So before we start, I wanted to share today's agenda. So we are going to start by presenting a data analytics ecosystem that we've put in place to address, well, data-driven challenges. And what it is, it's essentially a combination of expertise and two solutions that we are going to leverage for today's demo, which are NIME and Tableau software, and we'll present that to you in a second. We also going to go over the importance of data-driven marketing, so we'll talk about the concept a bit, and move on to, well, the main objective for today, well, which is to illustrate all that via a customer use case and a demo. And finally, we'll keep some time at the end to answer any questions you might have, which you can ask during the entire demo, the entire webinar through the chat. So let's get started. And the first part of this data analytic ecosystem is Mydro. And Mydro is a consultancy firm that specializes in data analytics. So all that we do kind of revolves around data and essentially helping our customer create value from their data. That can translate into a number of things, like support in building a data analytics strategy from scratch, maybe help in choosing and deploying the right business intelligence solution, project support on a specific use case, or training. And to achieve that, well, we have different partnerships that we can leverage, like the one with NIME, but also internal expert with various profile and expertise. And that really allows us to work across a wide range of industries and departments. And you can see a quick glance here on the right with the various customers that we've worked with. But today we've decided to focus on two solutions, which are, as I mentioned, NIME and Tableau software. And we do that not only because they work perfectly together, but these two solutions combined addresses the two main challenges that most people and businesses will face in their data journey, which are data quality and understanding your data to make better decisions. And the data value lifecycle, which is illustrated here, is how we at Mydro, we approach most of our customers' data projects. It highlights all the steps and stages for creating value around data, which can ultimately be split into two main categories, with data preparation on one side and data visualization on the other side. And the idea is that we are going to start with the business user. You are that person on the right of this illustration, and you're going to be asking yourself some key questions about your business. In today's case, about marketing. So it could be about how to increase your customer engagement, how to monitor my brand image, or maybe a little bit more related to today, how to measure the ROI of marketing campaigns across all the different channels. And essentially, Mydro is here to help you find answers to these questions by leveraging your data and making it go through the various stages that you can see here. So now we're going to talk about the two solutions, and I will now leave Vincenzo talk about NIME. Vincenzo, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Julian. So how can we help companies to somehow maximize their ROI? At NIME, we build software to create and productionize data science type of projects using one easy and intuitive environment. And this environment allows or enables also every stakeholder that is part of or takes part of the data science process to focus on what they do best. And to this regard, what we develop are two complementary tools. On one side, we have an open source solution and free desktop version. This is NIME Analytics Platform, which is an open solution and intuitive solution that allows users and individuals to understand data and also allows them to design data science workflows and reusable components that are then accessible to everyone. So NIME Analytics Platform, in short, allows you to handle the data science creation, let's say, part. So everything that goes around blending and transformation of the data, machine learning model training, as well as visualization. And on the other side, we have more the productionization, let's say, part that involves the usage of NIME Server, which is an enterprise software for team-based collaboration, automation, management, and deployment of data science workflows. And those can also, you can use NIME also to allow or to enable the communication through other systems that are available in your organizations. One of the benefits of using NIME as well is to enable non-experts or to give access to non-experts, data science experts via NIME web portal or also via RESTful web services. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thanks, Julian.
Thank you very much, Vincenzo. So moving on to Tableau, which is the last solution that we'll present to you today. So you might already be familiar with the solution, or maybe you're already using it, or even a similar visualization tool. But Tableau is one of the leading data visualization tools on the market. And to put it simply, its mission is to help people see and understand the data. So kind of using a drag and drop technology is going to be very easy to use and intuitive. And that's one of the reasons why we call it a self-service BI, meaning that a little bit like NIME, everyone, regardless of their technical background, can autonomously and quickly answer the questions with data by building dashboards. So to summarize, Tableau makes data easy to consume, and we'll show you that during the demo. An example of an analysis. So we wanted to, I think the next stage, we wanted to spend a bit of time talking about those two solutions and our approach to working on data project, because one of the things that we've noticed is that and actually a lot of studies show, is that the biggest challenges in becoming data-driven is, number one, insufficient technology, and second, the lack of internal experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to present to you MyJewel, NIME, and Tableau as one data analytic ecosystem. But that being said, let's move on to the heart of today's presentation and talk about why it is important to adopt a data-driven marketing strategy. And I think it's hard to argue against the importance of data when talking about marketing, especially these days where, well, everything is connected, everything is becoming more and more digital, and of course, trends are changing rapidly. So no matter what industry you're in, or even the business size, data is today impacting how you operate and your go-to-market strategy. And if we could do an entire webinar just on why being data-driven is important, I wanted to highlight three key benefits. And the first one is giving access to information and how this will empower marketers, and how empowering marketers to access and consume reliable data would allow them to uncover new insights, very importantly, whenever they need it, which ultimately will lead to not only faster but also better decisions. So key business user will gain kind of an understanding of the larger picture, would allow them to monitor and keep up with marketing trend, to finally, of course, improve messaging, the product, or the services. And for this webinar and the demo that will shortly follow, we wanted to discuss a real customer use case to kind of make it a bit more engaging. And for that, we're going to be looking at the company called Krager, which, for full disclosure, we've changed the name to respect its privacy. But Krager is a B2B communication agency that supports a wide range of customer in their, obviously, communication project and marketing projects. They do tend to specialize in the luxury sector, and they focus on 5 main activities, which are digital, marketing, design, events, and prints. And what you're seeing here is the catalog of products and services that they offer to their customer, which I'm sure might seem or might sound familiar to a lot of you who are in the marketing space. And the marketing department of Krager essentially contacted us as they needed some support in building a holistic view of all their marketing activity and make sure that they remain efficient at delivering their promises to their customers. And to give you a bit more context to the project and the solution that we've deployed that Cordelia will show you in a minute. So the context is that Krager is a leader in its markets, but as many other businesses, there's a lot of new players that are emerging, which are of course challenging their position, and of course they want to maintain that position. So one objective that they had and were struggling to achieve was to create a 360-degree view of their marketing campaign. A lot of monitoring and analysis were being done in silos, and with campaign kind of evolving and involving to multiple platform and channels, that was becoming more and more problematic. So they needed to understand the larger picture, understand what worked, what didn't work, identify where they needed to focus, where they needed to invest, and so forth and so forth. So what we did is we worked with them in deploying a monitoring tool for them to have. And we did that by first looking at the data they had, how we could leverage it, and yeah, essentially working on making it reliable and accessible for further use and further analysis. And the second stage was to work closely with the various business users to define the right KPIs, which is kind of crucial part of the process. They are the one who knows their business the most, and they are the one who will be leveraging the solutions at the end to make the decision. So it's very important to involve them. And then together, we built an interactive dashboard so that they could monitor and manage all of their marketing activity efficiently and, very importantly, in real time, which we'll show you in a second. Just before we move on to the demo, so as I mentioned earlier, for this project we had to leverage two solutions. NIME for working on the raw data, making it, preparing it and making it reliable, dependable, and then the Tableau suite of solution, which are Tableau Desktop for building the dashboard from A to Z, and Tableau Explorer and Viewers for getting answers and sharing insight across the organization, and even sometimes to customers. So that's it for the context of the project, and I will leave Cordelia take it from there.
Thank you, Julien. Hello, everyone. So before diving into the dashboard realization, I would like us to have a look at the main KPIs that will allow our client Krager to manage its marketing activity. So on this slide, please, Julien, if you can move to the next slide. Thank you. So on this slide, we brought to light some KPIs that have come from multiple data sources. So on the left, we have KPIs coming from Google Analytics, such as the number of sessions and the number of old and new visitors. And on the right, we have information coming from the Krager CRM, the number of leads, those who were qualified and even converted, and the revenue and costs. So in order to create our dashboard, we thought about a way to respect the marketing environment lifecycle. So first, the analysis of the visitor's origin, which is a very important information for Krager. Then the acquisition channel analysis in order to get to the lead and then to get to the lead conversion. And finally, we thought it would be interesting to analyze the revenue by campaign type and by country. So the ultimate goal is to visualize types of campaign that are beneficial to Krager, but also those which are not. So doing it could be possible to make a strategic decisions to stop them or reduce their scale of use, because it doesn't really make any sense to spend money in a campaign that doesn't make any money, obviously. So at this point, I could show you the dashboard we've created for Krager, which is regrouping all these analyses. But I need to put a little more suspense on the dashboard. You could ask why, and the answer is because that nowadays, in a marketing environment, data are coming from everywhere. Like we said, CRM, Google Analytics, social networks, surveys, flat files, and so on. These multiple origins make it complex to link them all together in order to create a simple dashboard. So what could be a solution to answer these multiple data sources? So let me share my screen. So a solution would be to use a tool to gather all these sources, clean the data, and make it a reliable data source. In order to do these steps quickly and in an easy, intuitive way, I use NIME Analytics platform. NIME is a tool that doesn't need any technical skills to be manipulated. It's mostly a drag and drop tool. So, digging in. Krager has three types of sources: Google Analytics to get site traffic, its CRM to get leads information, and flat files coming from monthly surveys. You can see all the three data sources are in orange, blue, and purple on my screen. So NIME has the ability to connect to all three data sources in parallel, thanks to specific nodes. So let's see a bit. We have the first part about Google Analytics, and we have three nodes. So those three nodes allows me to connect, authenticate to the source, and create the query I need. So if we take a quick look at the query over here, so this is the configuration panel, and we see on the left that we have all the data I wanted to retrieve classified in dimensions and in metrics. Let's say if I want to add a field, I just need to look into this drop-down menu for the field I want, select it, for example, date, and click on the Add button. You can see now that the date has been added to the dimensions I want the query to look for. There are other options below, but I don't want to talk about it, otherwise the webinar will last way too long. So moving to another data connector, we have the JSON reader. The JSON reader allows me to retrieve the data from the CRM, which is on JSON format, which is web format for data. And finally, we have the last node I used, the list file, which allows me to look for files in a directory which have the stored pattern in their name. The rest of the workflow is about cleaning and joining the data in order to create one single data source over here. And now that I'm connected to these three data sources, I want just to collect it, join the data from multiple data source, and pushing the clean data into a third-party tool, Tableau, thanks to the node Tableau Writer at the end of the workflow. So that's it for the workflow of data preparation. Let's go to the dashboard. So here is what we've created for Kraga. So this dashboard is under a format that we at Midroll call a data journal. Having a couple of years of expertise, Midroll created this format for analysis and is a pioneer in this kind of representation. The idea is to start from a global overview at the top of the data journal about our main KPIs, and then to divide the dashboard into some subsections with their own topic. So we can easily dive into the analysis according to multiple axes, and here are the ones I mentioned just before. So the visitors origin, leads information, and information about the revenue. So let's start with the top of the data journal about the global overview. First, we have an indicator at the very top about on the period over which we want to make our analysis. Here we are on a 3-year period. We have the possibility to change that period thanks to the slide just below. And if I change the period, all the graph from the dashboard will be adjusted on the new period analysis, just like it. Let's go back to our full 3-year period. Just below the slider, we have our first analysis over here. This is the KPI overview we talked about earlier. So we have the number of sessions over the 3 years period, the number of old and new visitors. So just to be clear, an old visitor is a visitor that have already been on the Kraga website and have saved its information. A new visitor is a visitor that have never been registered on the website. Moving on, we have the number of leads, and thanks to the tooltip, we can have more information. So we can see here 2,197 versus 4,608 leads. The second figure corresponds to the target figure of leads that was fixed for this period. So at the end of the 3-year period, Kraga managed to get to 48% of the target figure. In the same way, we have the number of qualified leads, which represent 55% of the target figure. And among those qualified leads, the converted leads, which represent 61% of the target figure. Below each KPI, we have the corresponding evolution curve on the analysis period. These curves allow us to detect a seasonality effect. Thanks to them, we can see there are some strong tendencies. For example, if I'm looking to the convert leads, it seems that there is a strong tendency during the off-season and in winter. Thanks to the little filter just hidden over here, I can select a specific month, and filtering by months allows me to have an overview of the evolution on a specific month through all the years. So an interesting analysis would be to filter on March, since it corresponds to the first COVID lockdown in France. The result here, we have a complete full of leads. And I would say for April would be the same. Yep. We have a complete full of leads. So let's go back to a full year analysis. Let's hide this little filter and move on to the visitors analysis, the second part. So on the second part, we'll dig in a little more into the visitors information. Let's start with their origins by looking at the donut chart on the left. Over the 3 years period, we had 14,260 visitors, which includes old and new visitors. And thanks to the donut chart, we can see that 32.9% of the visits come from social networks. Well, it could be interesting to know the distribution between new and old visitors, right? Well, we thought about that a little bit before, and we have already included these fees in the tooltip. By hovering the social network part of the donuts, we can see that what we call a vis in vis. It's simply a graph in a tooltip. So for social networking, most of the 4,688 visitors are old visitors. In the same way, through a search engine, for instance, we have a strong tendency for new visitors. So this information might be interesting for Kraga. That could maybe increase their publicity through search engine to get more new visitors. But what about analyzing the origin of visitors, but this time through the type of acquisition channel? So just like Julian told you earlier, there are multiple acquisition channels: marketing, digital, design, event, and print. Each channel have different type of campaign. For example, Kraga could organize webinars or conferences on the event channel, or print advertising posters, flyers, or magazine with QR codes for the print channel. So on the graph on the right, visitors by acquisition channel, we have a bar chart, and each bar represents a month. So for instance, in December 2018, we had 14 campaigns of marketing that led to 180 visitors. Visitors are still all new visitors. And if we take a closer look to the global overview, we can see that the marketing channel has a positive evolution. And whereas the design channel has less and less visitors, and that the print channel had a complete downtime starting on March 2020. This could be also a result from the beginning of the COVID lockdown. So now that we have more information about our Kraga visitors, let's go deeper into the leads over here. The idea is that a visitor comes on the Kraga site, becomes a lead, and that this lead can be converted into a client. So at first glance, we can see there is a color correspondence between the visitors by acquisitions on the top on the right and the leads by acquisition channel graph. So for example, light blue is for marketing, and the channel information is also in the tooltip just in case. We can see here that for the marketing channel, lead generation is the more profitable in terms of leads, since it has generating 405 leads, and it's the more profitable in all the acquisition channels. For the print channel, for example, which is in purple over here, we can see that Catalog has generated more leads in this channel, and then QR codes. So if we want to analyze the relevance of QR code campaign, we only have to click on the QR code box, and all the dashboard is updated on the QR code acquisition channel. So we can see the visitors' origin and distribution over here. And we also see that the QR code campaign works more during off-season. Maybe it's just because people are less going out on streets during winter because it's cold, and during summer they may be on the beach or on mountains, so there are no QR code anywhere. So it could be interesting for Kraga to increase QR codes campaigns during off-season than during high season. So now I would like to take a look to the event channel. So I'm going to click on it. Of course, the dashboard updates itself on the event channel. And I need to remind you that there are two types of events: in-person events and remote events. Here we can note there's also a tendency where if I select, for example, webinars, I can see that webinars are more efficient during winter. Makes sense since days are shorter, it's cold outside. Nobody, to be honest, wants to go out on winter, because especially if they're chilly. And if I'm looking for in-person events, let's take a product launch. What can we see? We see that the product launch are more during spring or summer season. So thanks to this couple of visualization, we know now that a campaign relevance highly depends on the period and on the season. So to move forward, let's take a look at the bubble graph on the on the bottom right on my screen. So here, the idea is to analyze lead conversion action. So it looks like that on a global scale, emailing, nurturing, and demo are more likely to convert a lead. And when a lead is converted, a contract is signed, and there's revenue. So let's move on to the last part of this dashboard, which is about, obviously, revenue. So we have three graphs. The first one, on the map, we can have a quick look at the revenue distribution between countries where Krager has business. The darker the color, the higher is the revenue. So it seems like beside France, which has a large amount of revenue, it seems that Spain and Italy have the major activity, and for example, Romania do not have a lot of activity. What could be interesting would be to compare the countries according to their campaign, the campaign used, just to see if a type of campaign works more in a country than in another. So the second graph allows us to do it. It allows us to compare acquisition channel according to the revenue generated. So on a global geographic scope, marketing is on top positions with more than 9 million euros of revenue over the last 3 years. And well, print and design, well, didn't really make a lot of revenue through the 3 years period. Finally, on the last analysis we can make here is a ranking of campaigns according to the revenue. So this graph is a bit peculiar because we can have at the same time the top and the flop campaigns. So the best campaigns and I would not say the worst, but then not that good campaigns. So thanks to the parameter over here, I can set the parameter of this top and flop. So make it short and select 3. So on the global scope, lead generation have generated almost 2 million euros. And we can see that conference didn't really work. That was not really profitable since even Krager lost some money. But maybe what we can do is filter on a country. So let's say we select Spain, which has quite a lot of activity for Krager over there. So I'm selecting Spain. So my dashboard is updated. And we can see that the generation leads are still on top. But we can see also that Krager is losing money not only with conference, but also with professional fair and packaging. So maybe Krager should probably stop organizing conferences, professional fair, and even packaging in Spain. We could also filter on the campaign type. So let's choose the digital acquisition channel, which didn't really make a lot of revenue. Let's see what's happening. So clicking on the digital acquisition channel, we can see that even though the digital channel didn't make a lot of revenue, we can see that none of their campaign made a negative revenue. And retargeting now is the best campaigns in terms of revenue. So, well, we are at the end of the demo. This is it for it. I hope you liked it. And now I'll let Julien take back the microphone and pursue on the presentation.
Thank you, Cordelia. Let me just share my screen again. Perfect. So just before we move on to the Q&A session, I just wanted to take a bit of time to highlight a few key takeaways from today's use case and from what we've been discussing today. And I think the first thing I want to highlight is the importance to start with the data. Making it dependable and easily available for the business user to consume is key to, of course, every data analytic project. And that's why we like to use one tool that is specifically dedicated to that aspect of a project, which today was NIME, and how Cordelia showed you the different workflow to get all the different data from different sources. The other very important bit is the necessity to build engaging and effective dashboard by working on the design, but also involving the different and relevant parties. And finally, I want to take some time in highlighting some of the key insight that we got from the dashboard that we've presented to you today. So we were able to, well, kind of measure the impact of COVID on the business, identify areas where they needed to focus, but also understand which campaign and when they are the most effective. So essentially the ability, as we saw, to optimize lead conversion and of course bring revenue. And finally, the ability to monitor and manage the cost and the ROI of their campaign. So that being said, I wanted to keep some time to answer any question you might have. We can, if you want to leave some comment, if you have some specific questions, or you just want to, share your experience in some of the KPIs that you are using on your everyday basis. We understand that today we showed you a specific use case, but there's of course a lot of different KPIs, a lot of different analysis that one could do. I saw a few questions around whether there's going to be a recording of this webinar, and the answer is yes. We'll share that with you with an email that will shortly come after. In terms of questions, there's a question around whether a non-technical person can use the two solutions that we've discussed today, and we've said that today. And of course, the goal of today was more to focus on the story and the analysis more than show you how to use those specific tools, but we do have other webinars and tutorials on how to do so. But I can't emphasize enough how these tools were designed so that everyone can use them. They're meant to be intuitive and easy to use. Of course, there's going to be a learning curve like everything else, but also there's a lot of free resources to help you. And of course, we can also be there as well to help. Keep in mind that that NIME is free to use, and that Tableau has a free trial as well. Someone is more of a comment saying that for that person, his most relevant KPI is the number of click per page, which is not something that we've discussed today.
I can maybe answer that. Well commented.
Yeah.
So I'll take it because I had a project on it. So indeed, this is something that we often see in a customer's project, and it's really often considered very important when trying to understand the customer path or journey. Well, I wanted to take the question because it reminds me of a project we worked on, and we were looking at the correlation between the number of pages visited and the purchase behavior. So the thing is, we noticed that there was a parallel between that, and especially a parallel between what was bought, the average cart size, and the number of clicks per page. So if, of course, the number of clicks per page is a really relevant KPI.
Thank you, Cordelia. So I'm conscious about the time, so we'll take one other question, and we'll get back to you on a one-on-one basis for the other question that we didn't have time to answer. But there's one that talk about the project itself, which I think is quite interesting. And the question is, how long does a project like this takes to create? So what we showed you today, and the project that we showcase, which is about Krager, is only part of the project that we've done for them. But to give you an idea, sitting down with the customer to understand the objective, defining the KPIs on a specific use case, then collecting and preparing the data, which most of the time takes between 60 to 70% of the time. So that's really the bulk of the work is collecting, finding the data, enriching it if needed, maybe add a layer of data science if we don't want to do some predictive analysis. Those are the things that takes most of the time. And as I mentioned, usually between 60 to 80%. And then, of course, we're going to have to build the analysis and put everything together to create a dashboard. And I would say that depending on the complexity of the project, from start to finish on a specific use case, we can do something like we showed you in approximately 5 days. So that's kind of give you a good idea of what can be done. Once again, I think we'll finish here. Just before we let you go, I just wanted to highlight well, a quick an initiative that we have here at MyJewel is that we have a help desk hour where everyone can book 1 hour free with some of our consultants to ask any question that they might have. So I'll forward that to the follow-up email. And we also have a number of resources that talk specifically about how to build dashboards and also how to use NIME and how NIME and Tableau can work together to build and automate your dashboard. So I think that's something that can be quite beneficial. And of course, if you have any further questions or just want to have a chat around data in general, well, please don't hesitate to reach out and get in touch. And we would love to hear more from you. That being said, thank you again, all of you, for your participation. And we'll see you soon in an upcoming webinar. Thank you all.